She only came to the farm for fresh milk. She never imagined she would leave with a full heart and a love she had never expected. Introduction. Sophie was 32, independent and tired of city life. She lived in a small apartment in Boston, worked long hours in a design company, and spent most evenings staring at screens. Her days were busy, but empty. After a painful breakup 2 years earlier, she had stopped believing in love. One summer, her doctor advised her to take a break. "You need fresh air, real food, and less stress," he said. So Sophie rented a cottage in a quiet countryside town for 1 month. The place was peaceful. Green hills stretched for miles. Birds sang in the mornings. The air smelled clean and alive. On her first morning there, she noticed a wooden sign near the road. "Fresh milk, Willow Creek Farm." She smiled and decided to visit. Rising conflict. Willow Creek Farm was simple but beautiful. White fences, wide fields, and cows grazing under the sun. Near the barn stood a tall man in boots, carrying 2 metal buckets. He looked up. "Need help?" he asked. His voice was calm and warm. Sophie nodded awkwardly. "I saw the sign. I came for milk." He gave a small smile. "Then you came to the right place." His name was Ethan. He was 35, owned the farm, and had lived there his whole life after taking over when his father passed away. He poured fresh milk into a glass bottle and handed it to her. Sophie took 1 sip. It was rich, cold, and nothing like the milk she bought in the city. "This is incredible," she said. Ethan laughed. "That's what milk is supposed to taste like." From that day on, Sophie visited every morning. Sometimes for milk. Sometimes for eggs. Sometimes with no reason at all. She and Ethan slowly began talking more. About weather. About city life. About books. About pain. Sophie noticed something about Ethan. He was kind, but guarded. He smiled often, yet sadness lived behind his eyes. One afternoon, while helping feed calves, she finally asked, "Why do you always look like you're carrying something heavy?" Ethan stayed quiet for a moment. Then he answered, "My wife died 4 years ago." Sophie's heart sank. "She got sick fast. I couldn't save her." He looked away. "Since then, I just work." Sophie didn't know what to say. So she simply stood beside him. Sometimes silence is the kindest answer. Rising conflict continues. Days turned into weeks. Sophie began waking up, excited to see the farm. She learned how to milk cows, gather eggs, and drive a tractor badly. Ethan laughed more around her. For the first time in years, he started living instead of surviving. One evening, they sat on the fence watching sunset paint the sky orange. "You'll go back soon," Ethan said quietly. "Yes," Sophie replied. Neither of them looked at each other. Neither wanted to admit what had grown between them. Sophie was afraid. Love had hurt her before. Ethan was afraid too. He had already lost the person he once loved most. So, both stayed silent. Major twist. 2 days before Sophie was meant to leave, she came to the farm and found Ethan loading boxes into a truck. "What's happening?" she asked. He avoided her eyes. "I sold part of the farm." "What?" "The bank has been pressuring me for months. Debt from medical bills, bad seasons, repairs. I couldn't keep it all. Sophie was shocked. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want pity. That's not pity, she said, hurt. You should have trusted me. Ethan's voice hardened. And what would you do? Save me? Then leave for Boston? His words cut deep. Sophie stepped back. Maybe I was wrong about you. She turned and walked away. That night, she packed her bags in tears. Climax. The next morning, before sunrise, there was a knock at her cottage door. It was Ethan. Breathing hard. Dust on his boots. I'm sorry, he said immediately. I was scared. Sophie said nothing. He continued. When my wife died, I learned losing someone can happen in a second. Since then, every good thing feels temporary. His eyes filled with tears. Then you came here and made mornings feel alive again. Sophie's anger melted. I was scared too, she whispered. Of what? Of needing someone. Ethan stepped closer. I don't need you to save my farm, he said. I just need the chance to know if this is real. She looked at him for a long moment. Then kissed him. Softly. Honestly. Like two broken hearts, finally choosing courage. Resolution. Sophie did return to Boston. But only to give notice at work. 3 weeks later, she came back to Willow Creek Farm with 2 suitcases and a smile. She used her design skills to help rebuild the farm business online. Fresh milk delivery. Farm tours. Homemade cheese and butter. Weekend markets. Slowly, Willow Creek Farm began thriving again. But more importantly, so did they. Ethan learned that loving again did not betray the past. Sophie learned peace was not boring, it was precious. 1 year later, under the same sunset where they once sat in silence, Ethan proposed. This time, neither of them stayed quiet. Ending message. Sometimes we go looking for something small, like a bottle of milk. And life gives us something far greater, a love we never expected.